Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another one of our Ask the Experts webinar series. My name is Richard Core, and I'm with WorkSource Atlanta Regional. Your topic will focus on workforce development, and more specifically, work-based learning programs. This topic is very important, and I would say quite relevant, especially in a time when the country is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated challenges that we all are facing as a nation. Workforce practitioners have to find innovative strategies that will help to tackle high unemployment figures. We have to implement programs to get our workforce trained, not only for the jobs of today, but also developing skill sets for the jobs of tomorrow. And we must get this right. We have to, if we're going to ensure that Atlanta's economy does not fall behind. Today, our expert, or resident expert, is Mr. Henry Charlot Jr. He's a manager of business services for WorkSource Atlanta Regional, and there he partners with the technical college system, chambers of commerce, and local development authorities to fully integrate workforce training into overall economic development program offerings. Henry leads a team of business service representatives to market work-based learning, apprenticeship, and training programs to businesses all across Atlanta. He plans to share a wealth of information about these training programs, information like what are they, how do they work, and in the process, maybe you'll learn if they are right for you. Henry will speak with us in just a moment, but before he does, I'd like to take care of some housekeeping. First off, this is a live webinar, and we'd love to hear from you. We really would. So if you have any questions, we encourage you, please feel free to type them in the chat box at any time. Right now, we have muted your microphones, but we've allotted some time at the end of Henry's presentation to answer those questions, okay? Also, we wanted to let you know that while our career centers might be closed to foot traffic, we're still open to virtual traffic. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if you're a job seeker and you ever need any assistance related to employment or training, if you need some career advice, or maybe you just need someone to help you to update your resume or have it reviewed, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help you. And if you're a business and you're looking to recruit a qualified workforce, we're here to help you too. WorkSource may be able to provide funds and support to make it easier to find and train workers to meet your business needs. The most amazing part of this all is that it's all free. We're a federally funded program, so the services are absolutely free. This is your tax dollars at work. All right. So the best way to contact us is by visiting our website at www.atlworks.org. That's www.atlworks.org. Fill out the contact information and someone will be in touch with you shortly thereafter. All right, and this is what the website looks like. On the left-hand side, you would click on that button if you're a job seeker, this one right here. And if you're a business, if you're an employer, you would click this button to go in and fill out the contact information sheet. All right, without further ado, Henry, I'm going to turn over the presentation to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Richard. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
I'm going to share the screen. Okay, well, I think we are ready to jump in. So for that introduction, Richard, and I am going to do just a brief background on the WorkSource programs and WIOA, which is our federal legislation. And then we'll just follow the PowerPoint. And as Richard mentioned, we can do a Q&A later on in the session. So yes, we're with the Atlanta Regional Workforce Development Board, and I'll just briefly go to the service area map. We service 7 counties in the Atlanta metropolitan region. The counties that we serve are Cherokee, Clayton, Fayette, Gwinnett, Henry, Rockdale counties. And within the Atlanta metropolitan area, we are one of 5 WorkSource boards. We service those 7 counties. The city of Atlanta has their own counties. And so from this map, this would be the city of Atlanta. And then Fulton County also has a workforce board where they serve residents and businesses outside of the city of Atlanta. And DeKalb County has its program, as does Cobb County. So that may be a little confusing, but the good thing about the state of Georgia is that we all commonly work under the banner of WorkSource Georgia. And even better, we operate as a region. So we are in constant contact with our counterparts in these other workforce boards. So if by chance you would go to the ATL Works website and enter your information, we all use that common platform. We all operate very similar programs. As Richard mentioned, this is a federally funded program. And so basically, we all operate under the same law, which is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Just briefly on that, that law was passed and became effective, I should say, in 2016. And workforce programs have been in existence easily 50 years, and they've gone under various names in the past. I recall as a teenager, I was able to get a job during the summer, and the programs at that time were called CETA, Comprehensive Employment and Training Act. Fast forward many years, when I first got my start in workforce, the programs were sometimes called manpower, but the law was the Workforce Investment Act, or it was moving from what was called the Job Training Partnership Act, and then later the Workforce Investment Act. So even though the names have changed, the programs have been around and have been in existence for quite some time, more generically referred to as job training programs. So many people in the audience at some point may have taken these programs or may know someone who's taken these programs. And they were more typically designed for people who wanted to get some type of school-based training. For instance, if you wanted to learn to become a truck driver or a medical assistant or something in technology, you could find your local community college or another training program or training provider that would teach you the desired skill that you wanted to pursue a career in. The biggest difference in WIOR is that it recognized the businesses as a equal partner. So you have many people in the workforce that really want to and need to just go directly to work and still be able to get some training to help them to advance in the career. So under the current WIOR law, there's a much bigger emphasis on business services, or what we sometimes refer to as work-based learning programs. And with programs like this, you can still access training. The biggest difference is that you are not typically in a classroom, at least not full-time or for the vast majority of your time. You're actually with a company. You're learning the specifics of the jobs that they have and that they need. And I should also say that WIOR in the state of Georgia particularly puts an emphasis on jobs that are in demand. So if it's a declining industry, we will not likely fund training for something that is no longer in demand. The term that used to be use is that, well, we would train and pray. We would train you and then pray you find a job. Well, the approach under WIOA is much more targeted, much more direct, where we really seek out growing industries, companies with in-demand jobs, and a great benefit of that is that you are more likely to earn a better wage and be able to progress into that career. So those are the few things that are different under WIOA than under the previous workforce laws. Now, in terms of the specifics of the programs that we operate for businesses that benefit candidates, let's see if I can get a better full screen view of this. Okay. Well, okay, it would be better if I didn't play with the screen too much.
Okay.
I'm liable to get on that.
Yeah.
Right. Oops. Sorry, I should not have done that. Let me pull that back up. No, I don't want to leave the webinar. That would not be a good thing. Okay. So the program that has been around the longest, and most people have probably heard this term on-the-job training. Sometimes it's used generically and not necessarily with respect to a workforce program, but it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You go to work for a company and you are taught the skills while you're on the job. It is more formalized when a company works with a workforce board on an OJT program. It is a training plan is developed for you, each individual employee at the beginning of. So your particular skills with the job are assessed very early on. And I think it's important to point out that each company is different. So let's take maybe a very popular job in the Atlanta area, since we're such a big, have such a big transportation, distribution, and logistics industry, forklift operator. Well, each warehouse operation and is going to be different from company to company. Yes, there are some skills that all forklift drivers need to have, but each company may have some exact differences in the way they organize their products, organize their warehouse, some other skills that may need to accompany that, like safety skills. So each company is going to have their own protocols. Probably an even better example would be something like an office manager, even accounting assistants within companies. Each company is different. Their accounting systems are going to be different. So even though you may have some training or a associate's degree or something in something like accounting, each company will need to teach you their own system. So the objective of on-the-job training is for you to learn the specifics of that company and how they actually do it. And so the purpose of us contracting with you is to help the company to bear some of those extraordinary costs of training. We can reimburse you for a portion of the person's wages to help you to recoup some of that cost. Okay, so yeah, with on-the-job training, basically, we can help you find an employee. You can find one on your own. If you find them on your own, we will have to take them through what we call an eligibility process, where we can determine if that person is eligible to receive funding under the WIOA program. So that's a pretty easy process. And the biggest point that I'd like to make here is that you get to choose the person. We can help you with that person. Sometimes if you have a person that is already working for you, let's say in a part-time capacity, that you want to either promote them to another job within your organization, we can help determine that they're eligible, and then you can help move that person up. And of course, we'd like to see them to get an increased wage as well. So OJT is our most popular program. It's pretty flexible. Again, the company has their choice on who they hire. Some companies recruit on their own because they may have very stringent requirements. I think probably a great example of that is that we've worked with a number of insurance call centers, and they have some very specific requirements on background checks and things of that nature. So that's not to say they could not select a person from our roles. One of the benefits of selecting somebody from our roles is that you will already know that that person meets with your eligibility. Now, sometimes when we're at job fairs, we talk with job seekers and candidates, and we really encourage them to go to a career center and to be determined eligible. And we point out to them that that helps make them much more marketable to an employer. They can tell an employer, well, look, I've been with the workforce system, I've been determined eligible, and if you hire me, then you might be able to get a wage subsidy. So the whole idea is to have a benefit to both the job seeker and to the employer. So OJT is our most well-known and well-used program, and it really is very flexible. And we can get you signed up for that relatively easily. We have a team of business services reps that serve our 7-county area. So later on, if companies are interested, you can go to the ATL Works website and put your information in. That email will come directly to me, and I'll get you to the right person, either within ARC or if you're in another county, I'll connect you to the business services reps for that county as well. And they can talk to you about the specifics of OJT in their counties. The programs are very similar, not exact, but they're very similar in each of the counties. So just following the same slide, one of the programs we also have is Workplace Fundamentals. That's sometimes referred to as a soft skills program. We don't see as much usage in this program as we do with OJT. One of the main reasons being that typically there is not a credential that is associated with this, so it makes it a little harder for us as a workforce board to justify spending the money on it if it's only soft skills. We will probably revamp our program for Workplace Fundamentals in the future. Some other workforce boards in the region tend to target it to something like a manufacturing industry and stretch it out over a longer period of time so that the individual that participates in it not only learns soft skills, but learns some hard skills as well in particular industries. So it is part of the suite of programs, but it is not used nearly as much as either OJT or to the next program that I want to talk a little more about, which is Incumbent Worker Training. Incumbent Worker Training is something that's relatively new. It was authorized under the current law we operate under, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Actually, I think it was piloted during the last, what's referred to as financial recession. So there was a new pilot workforce programs that came out at that time to help companies retain people if they could get additional training and hence be retained in the company. This program was rolled out at that time, and it became permanent as part of the WIORA law. And since that time, over the last 4 years, Incumbent Worker Training has become very popular with the companies that we work with. One of the reasons that it has become so popular is that companies can train their existing workforce, and those people who are already employed with that company do not have to go through a special eligibility process. Companies really like it because they know people that have already worked for them, they know their skills, they know the company's processes, the company knows where they'd like to improve their processes and where training could help people to basically move up to another job. One of the terms that we use in workforce with respect to incumbent worker training is that it allows a company to upskill their employees. Some great examples of where we've been able to do incumbent worker training. We worked with a medical assembly company in one of our counties that they operated their assembly and their warehousing operations was all paper-based operations. So in the case where they say had a product recall, it was a pretty tall task for them to have to go back and find where maybe one particular component was purchased from in order to make sure that that product was not a danger to the end user. So they became aware of what was called a enterprise resource program, in effect a digitizing or digital software program that helped them to better track both where they purchased products and what companies they later resold those products to. So just to make that a little more understandable, you probably have seen people work with a tablet or with a device on their arm called a diode that allowed for scanning of materials and barcodes and things of that nature. So in effect, the company was a very much more capable to track products, to determine who things were shipped to determine what products were bought from certain companies. And basically, the entire company had to be trained on this new system. So you had some employees who had been with that company, let's say for 10 years or longer. They were very accustomed to dealing with paper, but the company was no longer going to deal with a paper-based system. So, not everybody easily gravitates to computer-based systems, but in order to keep their job, they had to learn this new system. And we're quite proud of the fact that nobody lost their job with this. We were able to help that company train the entire staff. Everybody from the front desk all the way up to the company president had to interact with this system in some form or fashion. The people in the accounting area, in the receiving department, in the warehousing for when they shipped products out. Everybody had to touch this system, the quality control department. So everybody had to be trained on it. And that was a pretty extensive cost for the company. And were they not able to get a little bit of help on the cost, they would not have been able to train everybody. So speaking of the cost and how we are able to help companies, depending on the company's size, we can reimburse about 50% of the cost on a program like that. So let's just say a company is looking at a very expensive program, say a $50,000 program. Right now, depending on the type of cost, we might be able to reimburse up to $25,000 in cost for a company. So obviously that's a pretty good cost savings. And again, as I mentioned with OJT, we'd like to see everybody benefit, not only the company, but we'd like to see the employee benefit as well. So the state agency that monitors all of our programs is the Technical College System of Georgia. And they really ask a company to commit that within a year's time after a person is trained, that they would receive a pay raise out of this. And to back up a little further, even the Atlanta Regional Commission, because we want to help people get into good paying jobs with the future, we mandate that for any training program that we will sponsor, we expect the company to pay a minimum of at least $13.27 per hour for that program. Prior to COVID, with the Atlanta job market, we found that many companies were already paying above that amount, so that's good. So again, if it's a low-paying job, that's not something that a company would typically be able to use our workforce programs with. So we often get the question, well, who is considered incumbent? Well, basically, that's somebody that already works for a company. And again, the company has some experience with that person. So the specifics is that the person needs to have been with the company for at least 6 months. In many cases, we find that the person has been with the company for much longer, and the company knows them, and knows that they're a good employee, and the company would like to invest additional dollars in training that person to do a better job, and to help the company to be more efficient as well. Another good example of an incumbent worker training program that we helped the company to implement was that there was a metal fabrication company, and they had both people who designed products using a computer-based system called computer-aided design, and they also had people who were experienced fabricators who worked on the shop floor using the machinery and tools to help the company produce. They produce things like metal railings, signage, things that the signage could be mounted on, metal systems, things of that nature. And what they found was that the people who knew how to operate the computer programs didn't necessarily understand some of the challenges of actually fabricating a product that had been designed strictly via computer. So they took the approach that, well, we have people who are very experienced on the floor. They know what will work from a practical point of view. So let's train that person how to use a software program. So it's kind of like a cross-training type approach that, again, somebody who might not have been computer savvy, but now they could learn a computer program to help them actually do a better job in their colleagues on the shop floor. So that was kind of a cross-training program. So that's another program that we were very proud to be able to help a company to implement. And just think about it, if it's a person that had been working on the shop floor and doing a good job for a company, and now they could gain an additional skill that helps them be that much more valuable to a company. And in the future, if they choose to move on to another company, they can say, well, not only can I fabricate on the floor, I can also operate the CAD programs to help you design products. So again, we have two customers, both the business and the trainee, and our programs are designed so that both benefit. So yes, Incumbent Worker Training is a very popular program for it, and we really like to help companies with that. Okay, I'm going to move forward to my next slide. Give me a minute. I need to minimize my screen just a bit. Okay, let me back up just a little. I want to talk about customized training just a little. Actually, this is very similar to on-the-job training in that it tends to target people who are new to a company. It is a program that's available under the WeOr programs, but we have found that most companies tend to use OJT more so than customized. The times where we have been able to use customized training would be where there's a specific technical skill. We find this is really more applicable to specific technical skills. A good example of a training program that we helped a dental practice to implement. They had a person on board who was the job category was called a dental assistant, which only required, I would say, some minimum training, probably a certificate from one of our training providers or maybe a technical school. But to move up to the next program called dental hygienist, they needed to be able to move on to and do additional training and take additional courses. So obviously in something like a medical profession, there's a degree of school-based training that can't be taught particularly on a job. That customized is a good program for that. Another good example is that we've helped some people to learn coding and to go to coding boot camps, sometime as a prerequisite for even starting a job, or say the company hired them right away and then they immediately had to put them into a coding program. So it would be a person that had some really good computer skills and maybe some general coding knowledge, but really needed to be able to increase their coding skills. to be able to satisfy the company's particular needs. So customize, I think, can serve a lot of the same purposes as on-the-job training, and companies find OJT a little easier to use. But if it's something that requires a little more specialized skills that a person needs to go to school for or go to a training program for, then customize may be a better opportunity for them. So yes, we do like to offer a full suite of programs to companies. Now, a lot of people may have heard about registered apprenticeships. I think we tend to hear about apprenticeships most often in construction trades or other skilled trades. You may have some friends or family that work in professions such as either plumbers or electricians that have to go to formal school programs and then have to actually do substantial work as a journeyman, actually working in a company to truly learn that skill. Again, historically, something like an electrical profession probably is among the best examples of registered apprenticeships. Obviously, if somebody's going to wire your house, you really want to know that they know what they're doing, that they've gone to school to really learn how to properly wire a house so that it doesn't create a safety hazard and burn your house down and injure people, or even worse. So we first heard about apprenticeship programs with the construction trades. And moving forward, we have found that many other industries also need something like an apprenticeship model. Advanced manufacturing companies, for instance, there's a degree of school-based training that you need to learn how to use specialized machinery that requires you time in an actual classroom type setting or lab setting to learn how to use this advanced machinery. And then you also need a lot of practice in the company actually physically working with this. So the best way to think about registered apprenticeships, frankly, is pretty comprehensive. So it incorporates both school-based training and then work-based learning programs as well. So for people wanting to go into one of these advanced skills, they would, companies typically structure this where, let's just say the person might work maybe a 6-hour day or almost a full work day, and then go to school in the evening. And for people that are determined to be eligible, they can get some tuition reimbursements, and we will also implement either an on-the-job training program or an incumbent worker training program with that company, so that as they're going through this very long, extensive training program, the company can get some help for the direct costs that they have to incur as well. I mentioned construction trades. One of the ones that we've helped to implement here is for a commercial tile contractor. You know, frankly, I didn't realize it was that laying tile became so complex, but we've come to learn that there's several different certifications within that industry. And again, the more a person learns, the more they can earn, because they're that much more valuable to a company. From the company side, registered apprenticeship is good. It's a little more complex to get involved with. These programs start with the U.S. Department of Labor. For the programs that I've mentioned already, the construction trades, there are already curriculums out there that have been adopted by colleges. So for apprenticeships that already exist, it's pretty easy for a company to be able to access those. For new skills or apprenticeships that have not already been developed, it's a bit of a process that you have to start with the U.S. Department of Labor with in order to get your program registered. But chances are there's a program somewhere around the United States that's already registered. So if you have a program that you want to implement where a person can gain these industry recognized credentials, chances are the USDOL can give you some guidance and assistance to help you pattern from a program that already exists. So speaking of industry recognized credentials, one of the good things about a registered apprenticeship program is that once you learn that program, the whole idea is for you to be able to take that certificate in training pretty much anywhere in the country and be able to show a company, yes, I'm from the state of Georgia, but I went through an advanced manufacturing, or sometimes called mechatronics program in the state of Georgia, but I have the same skills from somebody who attended a program, say, in the state of Minnesota. So the whole idea is for those credentials, once you earn them, to be transportable to any company that you go to. So that's the reason why it starts at the federal level, in order to be sure that the standards are common. Registered apprenticeship programs have been a big push by both the U.S. Department of Labor and the state of Georgia to really help people get all the training experience they need for skilled trades, and hence be able to earn and have a really good career. One other big point I'd like to make about registered apprenticeship programs, one of the ones that we did with advanced manufacturing, they actually started with kids finishing in their senior year in high school. So if you can get interested in a program like this while you are still in high school, you can go directly into a technical college program where you will begin to learn the specifics of that, and you're also working at the same time. So you're earning while you are learning. And again, if you're determined eligible, you can get substantial tuition reimbursements while you're also earning a wage and build into a career that will be a high-paying job of the future. So that's why we really like to promote these registered apprenticeship programs, because again, it's a win-win for both the job seeker, for the company, and hence it's a win for the economy and the country as a whole. So those are the basic overviews on our different programs. I think now, Richard, is probably a good time to go to the Q&A portion and see if we have some specific questions about how companies might want to get involved with us.
Okay.
And they can access these wonderful programs that we have.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you, Henry. That was a really good presentation. I especially liked the bit with the history and background of the program. And I feel you gave a lot of clarity to all the different training programs that we have to offer. So we do have a few questions coming in. The first one is asking, how do we get started with the process? So if a business owner is interested, how do they get started?
Okay, I suggest go to the ATL Works website. It'll be very easy for you to navigate that. You can put in your county, you can give us your contact information, tell us a little bit about your business, and that email typically will come directly to me. If you're in one of our 7 counties, that Atlanta Regional Workforce Board or WorkSource Atlanta Regional, if you're located in one of our counties, I will connect you with a business services representative. They'll provide you some of our background information that looks like this presentation today to give you a general sense of the program. And then you can schedule the time to talk with them, ask more questions about it, learn how to apply for it. We keep the application process as simple as possible. It is a federal program, so there is a degree of paperwork, but the business services rep, they'll walk you through that step by step. After talking with you, we can tell you if your company is eligible for it. Eligibility requirements are not very stringent at all. We've worked with small companies, companies of 3 to 5 people, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies on these programs. So the point we like to make is that almost all companies can qualify. There are some basic things we require. You do have to be properly registered and properly licensed. We're going to ask you to provide your business license. We're going to pull your corporate registration if you're organized like that as either a corporation or a LLC. We ask you to certify that you're current in your taxes. These are federal programs that operate with tax dollars. So we have to ensure that you're in compliance with that. So OJT, for example, it's about a 3-page form, and then you send us a few attachments. And from there, you know, again, we just tell you the basic requirements for OJT. It does have to be a full-time person that you intend to hire. Full-time we define as 32 hours a week. So yes, you'll know that going in, and we'll also point out things to the fact that you have to plan for this to be your permanent full-time employee. So even after the training period, it's your intention to keep that person on board. So again, the idea is that the business services rep, they can take you through the specifics. We're fortunate to have very seasoned people. They'll know the things to advise you of. Very similar with incumbent worker training. There's some basic requirements that the state puts on you. You have to be in business in Georgia for at least a year for incumbent worker training. The employees that you want to train on average have to have been employed with you for a period of on average of about 6 months. So let's just say you want to train 10 people. If 8 of them have been with you for 6 months and 2 only started 2 months ago, we can train all 10 for you. That's what I'll say on average. So there are a lot of program specifics. Incumbent worker training can get fairly more detailed on the application, but so I say it's more detailed, but that's because it is flexible. And again, the paperwork by itself, if we just gave it to you and said, well, look, fill this out and call me back, frankly, it wouldn't be as popular of a program as it has become. But because the business services reps know the programs inside and out, they really walk you through it. We do find that the companies, sometimes they'll really run ideas by. So, well, I want to do this. Does that sound like it would be a fit? One thing we stay away from with incumbent worker training, if it's an off-the-shelf program, for instance, if you want to send somebody to learn the Microsoft Office suite, well, that's not something we would typically support because that's what the state and federal government refers to as an off-the-shelf program or not, a pretty much standard curriculum. We don't want it to be that basic. We would like to see an industry recognized credential. We don't have to see that. But if you can demonstrate to us that there's benefits to that person, they're going to gain an increase in skills, and it's going to help you as the company to improve your processes and become more efficient, or hopefully to avoid layoffs if your employee can learn a new skill. That's what we like to see. So the stack of paperwork may seem a little daunting, but the process of a discussion with the business services rep will really help you to nail down a program that that's workable. So by the time we walk you through all of the questions on it and talk to you a lot about it, they'll be able to tell you, well, no, that won't work, but if you approach it this way, it might work. Another thing I would like to point out about incumbent worker training is that companies can do the training in-house. Sometimes it makes sense to use an outside provider, whether it be a technical college, or in the case of the company that had the new software program, the training came from the software provider. But we've also done programs where they were really good technical trainers within a company that know how to know that company's manufacturing processes, and they were the best teachers. So again, a benefit to companies is that we can help reimburse a portion of, let's just say, a production manager's wages for the amount of time that they spend training newer people in the company. So there's a lot in the application, but typically companies find it to be very worthwhile. It's worth going through the process. And again, if you had to figure it out all on your own, it would be really difficult. But because we have the business services reps that really know the program and will walk you through it, it's not as bad as it might seem on the face.
Okay, great. You answered the next question in terms of whether or not the training can be in-house. And I'll also like to point out that the webinar will be posted on the ATL Works website. So if you want to go over and if there's some information that you missed and you want to listen it, you can go to the www.atlworks.org and look at the resources tab, and it should be posted there. Henry, there's another question that came in regards to timeline. What kind of timeline should a company expect from identifying the need and completing the application? How long between that completing the application to the time when you're approved for the funds?
Okay, let me start with OJT because it typically is a quicker timeline on OJT. From the time you give us a completed application, and again, it's a 3-page application. We ask you a series of questions and ask you to provide some supporting documentation. We promise a 30-day turnaround on an OJT contract. So typically, once you submit that to us, we will turn it around in 30 days. And again, working with the business services rep, most of your questions are going to be answered during the process. So it's pretty fast on OJT. Now, a related question that we always guard companies against, you can't hire and bring on a person until we approve the contract and until we determine that that person is eligible. However, once you give us that paperwork processing, we will introduce you to our career center and we'll help you with that employer search while we are processing your paperwork. So once all of the I's dotted and T's are crossed, we can do 2 things at one time. We can multitask on it to help shorten the timeline. With the IWT, frankly, the company form where we actually approve the company is even easier than OJT. It's a quick 2-page form, and we ask you to give us the same attachments, the tax certification, your local business license, and things of that nature. So the company approval for IWT is a lot quicker, but then we find we have to really work with you much more closely on the application. Okay. So the timeline, I would say you're probably looking at about a 60-day timeline on an IWT. But again, in talking with your business services reps, we've done a number of these programs. We can give you some pointers. We don't tell you what to do because it does need to be your training program. But depending on how you want to approach the training, we can give you a lot of guidance on that during the application process in order to shorten that timeline.
Okay, great. There's one final question that came in. I think you touched on it, but it's worth asking again. What's the maximum reimbursement amount for each participant in the OJT program?
Okay, so for OJT, we can maximize up to $5,000 per trainee in an OJT program, and a typical training plan in the past had been 6 months, but if your training period is shorter than that, that's absolutely fine. If you can get that reimbursement over a shorter period, that's fine. The invoice processing time, we ask you to submit your invoices monthly, which in effect is your timesheet for that person. So you submit your timesheet, you sign off on it, you verify it. We can document that the person worked the minimum 32 hours and things of that nature, and your reimbursements can start to flow. So the way you are reimbursed on an OJT is a portion of that person's wages, approximately 50% of their wages during that time period up to that maximum $5,000. And right now, we do have a big demand on our program, so we will likely start off with limiting each new employer to about 3 employers. If we get additional federal funds, we can probably expand that to about 5. And then once we work with the company, we do like companies that want to continue to use our programs. So once we have you under contract, after that first year, one of our requirements is that we'd like to see your retention rate be at least 80%. So just to make the mathematics easy, if we help you with 10 people during that first year, again, we don't mandate, if a person is not working out, we don't tell a company that you have to keep that person. We will try to help you if problems arise such that it's successful for both the company and for the trainee. So we are in contact with you, and we will put the trainee in touch with the career advisor. If there's some rough spots that we can help out during the training period, if we know about it, that leads to a successful outcome for everybody. That's what we like to see, because it's expensive to train people. Turnover is a big issue. That's one of the highest costs for a business. So we like to help you minimize your turnover costs. But the point where I was going with all of that is that after that first year in business, we're going to see, after the first year of the contract, I should say, we want to see that you have retained 80% of the people that we have placed with you. So again, using the example of 10 people, if you've retained 8, we will likely sign another contract with you for a second period. So for growing companies, this is a great program. Again, I mentioned we have some smaller companies, medium-sized, very large companies. For a company that's growing, that has to constantly bring on new people or train people for new jobs, we love to be able to support that type of growth if it is in a demand industry and a growing company where the person, the trainee, can move up in a career as well. So that might have been a long way to explain it, but I think all of those are important factors. So under incumbent worker training, the way we don't reimburse wages under incumbent worker training, we reimburse a portion of your training costs. So if you have to buy books, manuals, if you have to send them to a course where there is a registration fee or tuition cost, we can help reimburse some of that cost. If the company is going to do the training in-house, where the production manager, as example, would spend, I don't know, say 20 hours a week on training, we can reimburse 20 hours a week of that person's wage that the company spends for that. So in the documents that we will send you, we'll go through a much more detailed explanation of the specific costs that we can reimburse. Right now, we can do an incumbent worker training contract for about $15,000 to $25,000. We do have a high demand for the programs now, so we're doing our best to really spread the money around and get the maximum benefit, because a lot of companies really need the additional help right now. So we'll lower the limits a little so that we can really help many more companies to get some assistance on this. Just saying one additional thing about the costs that can be incurred. There's a worksheet that we have within, or I mentioned that we can reimburse up to 50% of the cost. Another good benefit of incumbent worker training. So we will require you to pay your employees while they're in training, but we will count that toward your 50% match. So you can get, while we can't reimburse those wages, we do count it toward your match, and then we'll reimburse you for the other things. That's direct cash back to you for the things that don't fall into your match column. So again, the paperwork, if we just sent you this form, there's 2 columns. It may have some very specific real terms. So we don't just throw paperwork at you and say, call me when you're done. We really walk you through it. So again, the processing time and the application time is typically a little longer on incumbent worker, but to be able to get a reimbursement of up to 15 to 25,000 on your programs. Plus, we help you to do it. We help you with the paperwork. Most companies find that it'll be worth their time investment.
Definitely worth the time. I want to say thank you, Henry. We're almost out of time, but before you all go, I want to play a quick 2-minute ad that is a comprehensive view of all the different things that we offer here at WorkSource Atlanta Regional. Henry, I'm going to take back control of the screen.
Okay. Reach out to us on ATL Works and we'll get you to the right person that can take you through the details.
Your dream job is calling. We're here to help you find it. Finding the right job or career can be difficult and stressful. WorkSource is here to make it easy. Our personalized step-by-step process provides job seekers like you with the support and resources needed to get a great job. Our career resource centers offer all the equipment you need for things like printing and sharing resumes and cover letters, as well as quiet places to make those important calls. You'll participate in job readiness workshops where you'll learn how to market yourself. An advisor will help guide you to find the right career move, and you'll have support from the entire WorkSource team throughout the whole process. Let's say you're looking for a career as a medical technician. You may need money for training, supplies, and assistance for childcare and transportation. WorkSource is here to help. Or you may want to become a driver. You'll need to learn to drive a big rig and get your commercial driver's license. Georgia has many occupations that need great workers, and WorkSource's dedicated career counselors can help you find the one that's right for you. The bottom line is that our first priority is your success. WorkSource was designed to assess your skills, help with training, and find a job that fits you. All at no cost to you. WorkSource is a federally funded program. WorkSource, the help you need to get the job you want.
All right, that's it. I want to say thanks again, Henry. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. And remember, the webinar was recorded and it should be up on the ATL Works website shortly. But thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Henry.
Thanks for having us, Richard.
You have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.